You're strong.
I know.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I'm here with Brit. What's up, Brit?
Hello, hello.
And first off, I just want to extend a congratulations to the Diana and Cal Instagram page, aka Brit, for getting monetized. Yay!
Yes, so exciting.
And you actually put it at a very good price, so I'm excited. I'm gonna sign up.
Thank
So,
you.
all right. So Britt and I have been talking about how awesome Super Wonder is for many episodes, about 25 now, because we're on episode 26. And we thought, let's change it up. Let's talk about the worst depictions of Super Wonder. Because Lord knows,
Let's get mad.
Let's get really pissed off. Because Lord knows DC has done some doozies today. So let's get started. Prepare for a brain aneurysm. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be saying Tomasi's name a lot in this. I get the feeling. Speaking of Tomasi, as a matter of fact. So as I said before, we have talked about the best Super Wonder moments, but don't get us wrong. There's also really bad depictions. Yes, I call out Tomasi and Rucka. So
Right.
The first one is one that Britt and I talk about every stream, and it's the one we hate most of all, probably. Immortal Beloved.
Gosh.
Good Lord, this story sucks. So Britt, elaborate.
Okay, it's basically a bait and switch. It's like within the early 2000s or whatever of basically DC writers going back and forth on their stance with the marriage. So you have on one side some writers are against the marriage and trying to do away with it. Then there's others like the writer here, Joe Kelly, that he I guess he approved of the marriage, wanted to work, and he was also of course, a Batman fan. So he did have a little bit of Wonder Bat in his
God.
JLA run. But the funny thing is that after a while, though, he did have a scene of Clark and Diana, and Clark's in a robe, and Diana's like hanging off of him.
Where she's on him. I can imagine her leg kind of goes up on his chest. So I'm like, what? I'm like, if they're best friends, that's not how best friends hug when one's in a
Right.
robe.
Right. So you have this scene, and basically, well, for his JLA run, it was, I believe it was after or during, no, it was after the first season of the Justice League cartoon.
Mhm.
So it was like they was trying to do a little bit of synergy and force, Wonder Bat within the comics, but of course it didn't work. And he only had like that a couple of issues, and it was maybe 6 months to a year, but it didn't work. It basically didn't work. So with this story, he was, of course, for the marriage, and the basis is that now that Clark is married to Lois, can he be faithful? And it is basically a borderline, if they were to have went further, a cheating story. And you also have it at the beginning, a massive bait and switch, because you have Clark where he's saying that he can trust Diana, he can be open with her, and Diana questions it. She's like, why can you tell me things, talk to me, but you can't talk to Lois, who is supposedly, your wife and the love of your life. And he says, well, my feelings for you are different. Like it's something different. And he never finished telling her that. And with throughout the story, when they're teleported over to Asgard, you have I guess this Thor that they meet at the beginning,
Yeah.
and he calls her, like, it's kind of natural that others see when people see them together. It's like an automatic thought that Clark and Diana, Superman and Wonder Woman, are together by the public. And so with this Thor, he called her Clark's mistress.
Well, that's awkward.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you have that feeling of they are naturally supposed to be together. Then, they're fighting this war, you know, throughout 1,000 years, and he starts to forget about Lois. He starts to forget what she looks like, what she smells like, her voice and everything.
And ironically, he's happier.
Yeah, and he's starting to develop more of his feelings for Diana. And he throughout the whole story, he is describing Diana, describing how she feels, how she smells, how she looks, everything like that. And he then at the very last minute though, I guess their last, battle. And it's like, if we die, let's be together for one night. And then all of a sudden he doesn't so much as rejects her. He just is basically like, no, I can't, because I can only be with Lois. And it's kind of like it's a possibility she could be dead already.
Yeah, it's been 1,000 years. You don't know that you could go back to the exact same time. So I'm like,
Right.
wait a second here, dude. I think we're taking the Lois love a little too extreme. Where you
Yeah.
have your hot best friend who says, "No, I want to be with you," and you're like, "Yeah, but my possibly dead ex-wife, wife though."
But that's the thing, is that Joe Kelly, he wrote himself in a corner. There was no way really to write this. Like, I can't stand it when Lois fans use this, because thinking about it, and if you are, you know, well, not all of them are very much intellectual. They don't like to use many brain cells already. But as a writer, you can't write yourself in a corner.
Not like this, because this is like, because by all things, since he doesn't know that, as far as he knows, the only thing he knows is that 1,000 years has passed by. I'm pretty sure Lois can't live for 1,000 years, and the vows are till death do us part. As far as he
Yeah.
knows, the death has happened.
Exactly.
I'm like,
But
what? This is one of the stories, Brit. This is one of the first stories I read when I was getting into back into comics, because I had Superman and Wonder Woman on the cover. So I'm like, let me flip this. Oh, this is getting good. This is getting good. What?
yeah, and it's also the fact that you don't know if she's dead or not. It's very much a catch-22 double-edged sword, because if Clark and Diana were to have, gave into their feelings or whatever, then it's like, and going back to that time, you have that lingering over that, oh my God, I basically cheated.
Even though
And
he
then,
didn't technically.
right. But then on the other side, which honestly, it's pretty funny, is that the follow-ups of this story, though, not written by Joe Kelly, but other people basically follow up with this with the Christmas present that he gave her.
Where, yeah, when they're sparring, and then, I'm sorry, the artist probably didn't get that they weren't supposed to look romantic, because the way their breaths are intertwining, and she's like literally like on top of him. I'm like, if you're trying to tell me that these two don't like each other, you're doing a very horrible job.
Exactly. And then you have where Mixoplex, he teases Clark about, what sane person would reject, playing tonsil hockey with Wonder Woman. And then Clark was like so mad at that. He was strangling he basically did a Homer Simpson and Bart
Oh my
moment where
gosh,
he's
I just got that image.
yeah, with and then he also I believe there was also one more. Uh, he went to therapy. He was in therapy, and the therapist asked about his feelings. What about Wonder Woman? And he got a little mad about that. And I think it was another one where he talked to Martha about it. I'm not quite sure, but I think so. So yeah, there were follow-ups to this to where he regretted, not taking that chance with Diana. Um, but yeah, this story is basically, you know, to a bait and switch bias, trying to really force this marriage that honestly no one wanted. In the early 2000s, they were trying to get rid of it.
Hmm.
Don't know why they kept it for so long. Um, I mean, it was for Dean Cain's show,
Mm-hmm.
again, Synergy or whatever. And um but after the ratings of that show plummeted after their marriage, and it was canceled, I think a year afterwards they were trying to get rid of it in comics. They kept it. Then um the the early 2000s um pitch from Mark Waid and Grant Morrison, they wanted to get rid of it. It was basically one more day. And
So,
I
so what you're
think
telling me, Brit, is that they wanted to make Superman single again.
right a year or two after the marriage, they wanted it gone. Then you have Dan DiDio, his 2006, I believe, his pitch to get rid of it. Then you have uh Flashpoint, New 52
Which
get
one of the reasons was exactly to get rid of it.
exactly. And then even with bringing it back with Rebirth, DiDio still admitted that he regretted that he didn't even want the marriage. He just wanted his idea of the Super Sons. Honestly, he could have
What
had
they
that
could
with
have done,
Elseworlds.
well, yeah, what they could have done if they wanted to keep it in continuity is have it where like Lois and Clark were married but then got divorced.
I mean, what they wanted was younger versions, though. So you can't
I
have,
know, but I'm just saying if they wanted to go that way and keep it in continuity, because obviously the best option would be Elseworlds, but if they wanted to keep it in continuity, that was a way that they could do it.
yeah, but I mean, you have like the thing is these older writers, and especially that they are so stuck with nostalgia and stuck with this idea of just like the stagnant status quo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much easier, like, okay, run it back. First, they have no idea how to respect, how to write, how to understand Diana's character. So you have writers that are just as intimidated by her, writing her, just as Tomasi admitted to, as how they write the characters, of being intimidated by her, not liking her. And they use other characters as mouthpieces. Christopher Priest in Superman Lost, he had Lois basically say, "I don't like you." Um, no, she straight up says to Diana she doesn't like her,
Wow.
and maybe it's the bathing suit or something like that. But and and you pretty much know that that is how the writer actually feels, and it has been that Lois never liked Diana in the first place. So for writers to continue on with that, though, first of all, it's so annoying, and second, it's just like so unprofessional. Just leave her alone. Then don't have her in Superman books. And you notice that the really bad depictions of Superman and Wonder Woman, their relationship, and how to address it,
Or in the
explore it.
Superman books.
Yeah, they are in the Superman books because either the writer is a fan of the marriage and Lois, or they're not even a fan of Lois. It's just the fact that they don't like Diana for some reason. And
Which, here's the thing, a lot of writers seem to not like Diana, even outside of the Superman group. So that is believable.
yeah, it's because like Diana is a powerful character in a sense of she represents um she represents women, and it is where it comes out of male fans or male writers, even some female fans and some female writers, that Diana is depicted as this perfect embodiment of what a woman should be. But at the same time, because she's so perfect and the people around her are insecure, they don't know how to take her as an inspiration. So it's mostly like, we're going to tear her down. So that's why you have Diana where they feel like, as the foreign girl, she doesn't have her humanity or whatever, or that she is a bad influence on Superman if he, you know, acknowledges his otherness, because they can't, it's like they can't accept perfection. And it's not even really so much as perfection, it's just being a good person, you know.
I know, and it's kind of weird because it's it's one of the biggest contradictions at DC, because Wonder Woman is this character that they hold up as like the most iconic female superhero. She's the third member of the Trinity, as we said before. But it's like, and you treat her like utter crap compared to Superman and Batman, but you want us to believe that she's an important character to you. I'm sorry, show me. I mean, even the reason why I was so hopeful about the Tom King run is because at least they were giving Wonder Woman someone. But then it was like, no, but more on that later. But my point is, for a company that holds up Wonder Woman so much, they don't seem to like her.
They don't. And because, like I said, they are very much intimidated by her character, what her character stands for. um I mean, you can see it all day long, like, and I am going to use it because I am a fan. So earlier, which it really comes, uh is it very ironic that I saw this. So a football player, he was doing an interview, and I saw the clip on Twitter, that his inspiration to work harder as a football player was actually Beyonce, seeing her in a concert.
This would be the
And
first time Beyonce is used as an example on the Super Wonder show, but go on.
okay, well, first, Beyonce actually wanted to play Diana in 2009.
You know what's kind of
She,
funny?
she,
I could see that, actually.
yeah, as an older Diana, she really can. But
Wonderonce.
that is wonderful. That is okay. I
I
might use
tried
that.
at least. I tried at least. She has
I'm
the
so gonna
build.
use
Here's
that.
the thing. She has the build to play Diana.
Well, when she wears the leotards
Mm-hmm.
and the bodysuits, that was her inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
was Wonder Woman. So, and she also has a song that mentions Superman too. So yeah, it's
Oh, really? Now I see why you like Beyonce so much.
well, I've been a fan for a long time, since I was like 5 or something. But yeah, I she also had a Wonder Woman shirt on in one of her music videos. So yeah, it's all aligning. But back on topic. So the football player, he explained that. He said that he loved her work ethic, and seeing that inspired him. And his fellow football players laughed at him. It's like, you are inspired by a woman, you know, and that for that to be in reality, it comes into, yeah, that makes sense of why in the world of fiction it's displayed there too, because that is in reality how people feel. So if we're comparing the two, Diana is supposed to be this inspiration, even though Tom King's run is, I don't know, kind of controversial and whatever.
It's gotten to the point where I dread the next issue. I'm picking it up because I want to support Wonder Woman because I love the character so much. And there's a blind hope because here's the thing about Tom King. As many times as he is controversial, he does some really cool moments, like the scene when she takes that terminally ill kid to the island and plays with him. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm here for those moments because say what you want about Tom King, that sometimes he can be depressing and is currently working out his mommy issues in his Wonder Woman book. It's
Exactly.
for the most part, when he writes an emotional scene, he can write an emotional scene really well.
Right. So exactly. So when the child Jack, he says that being a Wonder Woman fan as a boy is like basically you're not a boy, you're a sissy or something like that.
Which, by the way, I doubt that really happens. I really
Honestly,
do.
it does, because
Oh, really?
if a football player can be laughed at for having inspiration and being a fan of
Okay, that's true.
Beyonce,
That's true. I'll give you
then
that.
yeah, it coincides really with what Tom King said in the Wonder Woman book with Jack. And that is true how people feel. And they, especially Tomasi or anyone else
Oh my
that
god.
writes Diana, that is how they feel about her. Is that, and especially with I believe Bendis, there is, I
All right.
think he deleted it, but it was circulating where he talked about Wonder Woman being from an island of women. And I think he called her, a lesbian island or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
Lesbos. All
yeah,
right. I'm gonna say this. You mentioned Bendis.
Why did you say that name?
I was on a friend's show, by the way, and he brought up about how Bendis made Lois intolerable. So I started the joke. I was gonna say, well, that makes Bendis my favorite writer, but after I got that makes and I was like, I can't even make that joke. I can't even make that joke. It's so that joke is so bad. I can't even make that joke.
right. But he also said that Diana, like, that she has like made it seem like she was promiscuous in a sense.
Oh God, this.
And you know, had like uh sexual diseases or something like that. And
That
so it was
sounds
like,
honestly. Here's the thing. That sounds like Bendis.
so it was kind of like, wow, you really do not know the character. And for you to say that, to put her first, it was very kind of xenophobic and very like, no, it was xenophobic, misogynistic, sexist, all those
It was
isms.
Bendis. It was
It
Bendis.
was, yeah. And to say that about her, as influential as how she is supposed to be. And even I think it was the same year that they stripped her of being the for the UN. She
Hmm.
was supposed to be like the
Oh, I
face
see.
of,
I remember that.
yeah, and the reason why they took it down was because you have these insecure women that Diana represents, self-confidence, you know, whatever size you are, whatever skin color you are, whatever ethnicity you are supposed to love yourself. So with her bodysuit, it's not so much as a woman just with the perfect like body type. She's saying that you can wear it too. Like, it doesn't matter what I look like. First of all, I'm an Amazon, and that's just me. But if you are a plus size woman, man, sometimes a man want to dress up as Wonder Woman too.
Embrace
You
your
can do
full
it.
self. That's what Wonder
Exactly.
Woman, and that's why Super Wonder works because she encourages Clark to embrace both sides of his identity.
Exactly. So going back, yeah, that is just the issue that we you see the pattern when we get to all these stories. You see that pattern is that, first of all, it's in a Superman book. Second, it is from a writer that is known to already have this bias type feeling towards Diana. And that is the misconception of and why so many Wonder Woman fans are skeptical of, you know, of Clark and Diana's relationship. It, going back to Tom King, what he said in Trinity's special, to say that Diana isn't fast enough to stop a bullet, but Clark, like, she doesn't have the speed or the power Clark has.
She
No.
does. You know how I know that? She did it when she was a kid, and when she earned the right to be Wonder Woman. That was part of the trial.
And the whole thing is, we see it in the movies, we see it in the Wonder Woman show, we see it in um Linda Carter show, we see it in the cartoons. Diana is fast to stop a bullet in especially the mall scenes or something like that. She's always in a mall or something and she's stopping a bullet. That is her thing. So how can you say that she's not fast enough to stop a bullet? I have no
Obviously
idea.
didn't watch the No Man's Land scene from Wonder Woman the movie, but
Well, Tom King said that his sole inspiration is not only Linda Carter's show, like the art, with all the stars and stuff everywhere, like the the colors, the stars and stuff like that. That type of aesthetic is from Linda Carter's show. But Diana herself, as characterized, and he said that also the way she talks and the voice in his head is Gal.
Which I'm
Gal
like,
Gadot.
but you're telling me Gal doesn't know how to, isn't fast enough to block bullets. I'm like, again, you didn't see the movie with Gal Gadot. Actually, both movies. Actually, 4 movies if you count BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm like, he claims to have read a lot of Wonder Woman to prep for this. What I'm seeing is that he didn't, because he would know this.
Yes. I mean, if your inspiration is Perez, like, that is the first thing you would know. First of all,
That
Diana
literally ends
isn't,
the first issue.
and the fact that Diana's characterization, though, she is like stoic and she's very condescending.
She's an
And
emotionless automaton, is what I say. And if his sole inspiration was Gal, I'm sorry, but Gal was not an emotionless automaton, Tom King. But
right, so yeah, that honestly, the only real emotion that she's shown is for Jack.
Which, again, it was good. It's not like he can't write emotion. He can. But moving on. All right. The next story. This is something that I read before I knew you, Brit. I read the story, and it emotionally scarred me, which is
Oh,
sad because I've read Claremont's work. And as soon as I say Claremont, you know what story I'm referencing.
yeah,
And I'm
that
like, this is the story. This is the first time I've ever read a comic and gone, what the hell did I just read?
exactly.
Whom gods destroy.
When
Which I'm like, what?
Yes, when I have never read this story, like, for some reason it didn't like catch my eye. I've seen the cover and I've seen some of the art, but to actually sit and read it, I've never, and I still didn't. I skimmed through and it was still like a skim through of what the hell is this? I was like, okay, and
I
I
read
had to.
it.
Oh no, I refuse to, because
I
I
was like,
read like the
no.
little footnotes or whatever, and it's kind of like, no, that's not what's going on here. And to see Diana as that, the true Diana as the villain basically, and in a comic that, first of all, you are false advertising because it says Superman and Wonder Woman. When you think of Superman, of course you're going to think of Clark. When you think of Wonder Woman, you
You
are
think of
going to think
Diana.
of
And
Diana.
also, it makes it worse. He put swastikas on Diana's armor.
Which is kind of like, yeah,
I'm
I
like,
just,
what? And then it ends basically with Clark having. I'm trying to figure out the proper way, the right way to say this because I'm a PG channel. Having relations with Lois and Lana.
Yeah, it's
I'm like, what the hell?
it's polygamy basically.
I'm like, wait a second. Shouldn't this is a Tumblr comic is what I'm reading.
Exactly. And then it's so, again, another story to prop up Lois is to take Diana's place as Wonder Woman and to see that the gods, especially Athena, with knowing that Athena is Diana's guide and and you know, Diana is Athena's champion and chosen one and everything, to push her aside or whatever, to make it that Lois is Athena's champion and her and everything like that. That was just so disrespectful. And it's the fact that Lois, first of all, she was old as dirt, and it was like she's close to kicking the bucket or whatever. So of course you would try to make her to be like Diana, this immortal goddess, and even to draw Lois to look like Diana with the hair, with the physique and everything like that. No way that if anyone saw a panel like that with no dialogue, textless, you would think that's Diana. And I'm just saying, when I was skimming through, I don't know how many times I said, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, me too. Particularly when you see like, okay, Lois and Lana kiss, and then Lana kisses Clark, and then Clark kisses Lois. And like,
Yeah, and just
it
no.
seems like one of those really bad fan fictions, and I'm like,
It's very
what?
much like, I am glad I stayed away from this and I avoided this like the plague,
Lucky you.
because I honestly, I'm glad that I really just skimmed through it, because trying to read it in full, I just I can't do it. Honestly, you have to probably get me drunk or something to read this.
That'll be like your special, because the Comics League, what we do is that whenever we reach like a certain milestone, we do punishment. So your punishment will you have to positively review this comic. But anyway,
I
but the
don't know
thing about this,
how any positivity I
no,
can
you can't.
even
That's
pull
the point.
with
I
this.
had to do Justice League, Brit. I had to do Justice League. But my point is with this is that it's sad because Claremont is a solid writer. The reason why the X-Men are the way they are is because of Claremont. So when I read this, I'm like, what happened?
It's kind of like, for some reason, again, depending on the character, the writers can write a really good whatever character and then just do so horribly with another character. And it's kind of like, are you the same writer? Or is this ghost written or something? Like, what happened to your mind? To, first of all, to have you think of this story. And second, who was the editor or whatever who approved of this?
The
And
editor's
it's kind of
like,
like,
the editor's reading it, and he's like, I can't say no to Chris Claremont, but oh my gosh, this is bad.
yeah,
Make it an Elseworlds.
yeah, it does have the Elseworld tagline, but again, it's false advertisement to the T, because you have where is, even with the I guess the introduction page, you have Superman and Wonder Woman side by side. So it's kind of like you would think that this is Diana. And I'm just like, okay, to see the first page or whatever is old Lois and whatever's going on there. And some of the artwork is just bad too.
Well, yeah,
So
the artwork is very strange. And again, I bring this up again to put Diana with swastikas on her armor.
that just totally, I don't care if it is an Elseworlds. I know that we have like, I know that Elseworlds is like putting the characters in situations that that it can go a little bit extreme. but at the same time, you should know where not to cross the line. And
Exactly.
and to do that to Diana though is just no,
Well,
no, no, no.
yeah, and it's like, but it's so. Let's move on from this one. But you know what they call it when a writer can write any other character but Wonder Woman. You know what they call it? It's a relatively new phenomenon. They call it an Amazon's attack. That's your joke for the day. Thank you. Go. So
Oh, that was actually good.
I just came up with that one. There you go. So Superman 80-page giant part 2. And this seems to me like, okay, so here's my problem with this, judging by the dialogue. So is this after a story where like they were under the Black Mercy influence?
Yeah, where
That makes sense.
they had the dream, the Trinity
Oh, okay. I
issue
see.
Wonder Woman 141. And yeah, so Clark and Diana, they have the shared dream of meeting, getting married, and expecting their first child and everything like that. So of course the bait and switch. And the thing is, this was written by the same writer. And so
Oh
it
no.
it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense because within the within the Wonder Woman issue, when they realize that this is just a dream, Clark he says that he's with someone else, but a part of him wants this to be true. And you see that emotion, that it kind of just stirred up something that was buried or repressed of their feelings. It's like
Which
you
again,
know,
this gets back to my to my thing where DC is basically very schizophrenic when it comes to this, because every single time he's in a dream or like he gets exposed to something that's going to show his innermost desires, what he really wants, it's either
exactly.
Diana or Lana. It's never Lois. Never.
Yeah. So then you come you with this story though. First of all, it's in a Superman book,
Oh
and
yeah.
Diana, she says that she created, like, within her Wonder Dome, she created these images of androids or whatever that look like Clark. So she's beating up Clark's face,
Oh jeez.
um, because she's so heartbroken. And when he goes to the Wonder Dome, she tells him it's like, I've left this alone. That what happened, pretending that it didn't happen, even though we know it did, and but you keep coming to me, like you keep, like, you won't leave me alone. And that's very awful to have Clark. It's like he has feelings for Diana, but at the same time, because the writers, of course, want him to be committed to Lois, so he's going back and forth with that. But with Diana, it's like he has to have her, like, waiting for him or something like that. And for him to be conscious now and awake, and for her to take him into the Wonder Dome, and all of a sudden his inner thought or whatever is Lois, it's kind of like, okay, his inner thoughts and desires was to be married to Diana in his dream, but his waking life or whatever, of course you're going to have an image of Lois because he's consciously awake and knowing that he's with her. So yeah, he basically is to show again that it's only Lois and Diana is left, heartbroken. But he wants to say that, can you trust me? And Diana, she settles for that, and it's like, um, yeah, you're my friend, and I love you as my friend. But then, you know, by herself, she says that her feelings for him won't go away. So I didn't like this at all because
Yeah,
again,
it's just crappy dialogue.
it's another bait and switch. It's another 180 of Clark's attitude. It's like, you pursued her. And so when she gives into her own feelings, you break her heart. And then it's kind of like, it's fans would think it's Diana that's pining over a married man, when it's first of all it's Clark that's showing her he has feelings for her too.
Yeah, I mean, they have a pretty clear indication that, like, with these mercy plans or like any other dream, most of the time he's dreaming about Diana, and it's showing and they're very clear about this, what you want most, your innermost desire. It's showing Diana.
Yeah. So why in your innermost desire is Diana. And then of course, like I said, within this part of his waking life, while he's awake or whatever like that, of course he's going to think of Lois because that is like that's the thing of, you know, of now. But again, to have him really, and then he also, it seemed like he got mad at Diana for showing that his thought right now was of Lois, and it hurt her. He got mad at her, and it's like, why this writer, why did he write that in a sense like that, that basically Clark again having his cake and eat it too, when he is not that type of guy. And this is why Diana respects him and she does fall for him, because he isn't that type that will, hurt her. And basically just use her feelings, you know, and in a sense even gaslight her.
In a way, in their efforts to make Superman loyal to Lois, they character assassinate both Superman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and that is the constant. That's honestly the most consistent thing that they can do, is continuously try to have uh belittle Diana, belittle her relationship with Clark, 180 it, to make it seem like Lois is the only one.
Speaking of that, I believe our next area really built my hatred of Lois Lane. Oh boy, this era of
Yeah.
DC with the DCAMU copying New 52, and we'll go into detail also more on like the Tomasi era of New 52. But first, we're starting with this because I gotta tell you, I was watching the Death of Superman movie, which first off, I'm like, why are we getting a Death of Superman movie in a New 52 universe? But anyway, beyond the breaking them off panel, I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. Okay, keep going. Keep going. The minute I hear him say what a lucky man I was, because I had read the Final Days of Superman, I was like, are you serious?
It's basically the whole, if I had two nickels for for the time that um Lois would be used for Diana's dialogue, yeah, that's basically what
I'd
that
have
is.
enough to probably buy DC by this point and do a better job than these people. But
Right, because not only did she, it's the same thing of how they did New Frontier,
mhm.
is the whole dialogue of Diana when Clark goes to the island to talk, and she tells him about like the world. They don't need an administration, they need a leader. And Lois has the same exact dialogue, or and like Lois does not know about foreign affairs. She doesn't know about, you know, the world like Diana does. It's especially with Diana being a princess and she understands, um and she's an ambassador. So she knows what the world needs, and the people, you know.
Well, hell, Lois being a reporter who can't even spell.
Right. I mean, she's very self-serving too. So to change that dialogue to be Lois, first of all, it just didn't fit. It doesn't, and it's not as impactful as Diana saying it. It just doesn't hit the same.
Or Clark saying it to Diana in this case. But this is where I started to really hate Lois because I could say I've read some books where she wasn't depicted correctly, like Heroes in Crisis, but really this. Because really what this is DC editorial, or in this case, the movie people, but it's the same energy, particularly when we get to Rebirth, using either Diana or Lois as a mouthpiece and saying, screw you if you like this.
Yeah, definitely this. Well, James Tucker, the producer of this, he basically admitted that's exactly what he was going for
How'd that
with.
work for you, James? How'd that
Yeah,
work for you?
he basically admitted that, especially with Reign of Superman, when he had Diana basically say that she has a special bond with Kal, but Lois is the love of Clark Kent's life. She was used as a mouthpiece, and it was for her to be like besties or whatever with Lois, so the fans can accept Lois, even though they know it was wrong to have them break up off screen. And the thing is, the last thing we saw of them, or they were like solid, completely solid as a couple. And then you had the Justice League Dark movie, and that was it. And with seeing this movie, and I saw tweets too when this came out, where people like, did we miss a movie? Like, what happened?
Yeah,
And
even me, because I remember I was watching YouTube one of the behind the scenes stuff, and the minute they start talking about Clark's relationship with Lois being key, and I'm like
yeah, they have no
what?
build up. Yeah, they have no build up whatsoever with this. And the only thing that of course, they would turn it around and say that, of course, is Diana is the one that, because she didn't like the secret identity. But it's like, Diana, you have a secret identity that. And
And since when she bought new glasses to hang out with Clark?
exactly, she loved the glasses. So how can you say that she didn't like it when that's exactly what she was thrilled of doing? And and it was also how at the end of this too, that Diana's role truly diminished, especially in Dark Side War, not Dark Side War, Apocalypse.
When they
What is
turn
it?
her into a Fury.
Yeah, she, first of all, Clark, he's a terrible leader, you know.
Oh my gosh,
he
yes.
he's the one that basically, it was a suicide mission, and he forced every hero to their death. Like, he basically sent everyone to go die. And for him to go back to, I guess, Earth, and he at some point he married Lois, and while your supposed friends were being tortured and everything by Darkseid, and all of that, you were having this life with Lois, and it made him so selfish and so self righteous and a hypocrite. And I really, the Superman that we were introduced to within the first part of the animated movies, you can tell how much he changed just with Tomasi's, you know, with what they wanted to do with changing him to post crisis. And he was just totally unlikable. Um,
I mean, here's the thing. Clark in the Charles Sewell book, and again, a big surprise. I'm referencing the Charles Sewell book in a Super Wonder show. Big surprise. But the fact that people complain about New 52 Clark. They say he was too edgy. He was too much like this, which he wasn't. But for the sake of argument, let's go with that. He was in that book. He had the best parts of post-crisis Superman, but the most of the best parts of New 52. He was the best marriage of the two. And that's why when people read it, they're like, oh, wow, I really like this.
yeah, because with post crisis, and this is why they did the reboot in the first place. Even James Tucker, he admitted that the Superman that they couldn't get a Superman, the animated movies off, you know, because I believe it was Unbound and one more movie that basically flopped. So
Mhm.
so that added more layers to basically the hate we feel, because that's what you did. You used the New 52 knowing the popularity, regardless of the um the complaints or whatever. You used this to get a Superman movie that you really wanted and the relationship that you really wanted or preferred. And and then because you did that, the ending result was you had to end, the universe. Um, you were basically blindsided and had to rush in this universe, and now you're not even within DC at all. The Wonder Woman animated movie that flopped too. And yeah, it the fans that you gained, you alienated them, and you were questioned of why did you make that decision, and you got a little peeved at it too. And he also admitted to saying that what he really wanted to do was he wanted one more movie right before Death of Superman, and that was to show Clark and Diana's breakup. And it basically, or he, it was a hypothetical thing maybe, but I think he said that he did plan that, and that he basically wanted to adapt Action Comics 600. And it's like there's no way you can adapt Action Comics 600, because within the context of that story.
They weren't a couple. They weren't a pre-existing couple. That's the first thing.
Exactly. And it, it was basically like their first date, and it was awkward because of Diana. She didn't understand her feelings, and Clark was trying to rush it. So it's basically like they clashed in an awkward way. So for them to be together, and then all of a sudden you try to make it awkward, neither one of them really come out looking good at all. So again, you put it on Diana. Of course, Tomasi would love that, to say that Diana doesn't like the secret identity, and then he tried to make her as like this jealous ex too, and
Mm.
and also Clark's attitude towards Diana. It's like they never had a relationship, and just how he acted towards her within the movie, and it was all about Lois. And the thing is, even with Lois too, she didn't understand the she understood the danger, but the difference within the scene. Diana, she was tired, she fought Doomsday, held it down, and Clark comes, after he's trying to be with Lois while everybody else is basically down and out, um Doomsday is rampaging everywhere. You have Diana that has to tell him to, get here now. And she tells him, you know, get this monster, defeat him or whatever like that. Do what you have to save, everyone. But then you have Lois saying, can you call the cavalry? She says, like, don't leave me. Stay here with me because you're going to get hurt and everything like that. It's like, duh, that is what he's supposed to do. If he dies,
The
he
dude has
dies.
fought Darkseid.
Right.
Apparently,
So,
according to the crappy tie-in comic, you were there.
yeah, that is why the tie-in comic doesn't make sense. And also, even even before then, for them to have a relationship in Throne of Atlantis, Lois basically, like, she was trying to um tease Clark and make it seem like she was making fun of him in front of Diana, embarrass him. She was trying to embarrass him in front of Diana. And again, there's no indication of a romance. There's no indication of anything of how she was. Even with Clark, he didn't have any type of um like romantic feelings for Lois. So how is that all of a sudden that they are in a relationship just for this story alone? And of course, will, the double standards of the fans are Clark and Diana, they do have the build up. Um, and it made more sense if they would have adapted even uh, Superman Doomed or something like that. But because it's been Lois and Clark or whatever, they are just fine with it being done off screen because that is just what they accept. But they can, complain about Tomorrowverse. First of all, Clark and Diana's relationship in the Tomorrowverse,
It's 40 seconds, but okay.
yeah, but also it was already indicated when Steve kicked the bucket in the JSA movie. Diana was Clark's inspiration to be Superman, and they had that little moment before she finally realized that Steve was dying. So the seed was already planted there. Even the producers, Jim Craig, he said that they wanted more JSA movies, and if possible, um, after Crisis, he wanted more JSA movies. So we would have seen, the development of their relationship. But Lois of Earth 2, she lived and died off screen. And all of a sudden,
I kind of wanted to say when they had a relationship off screen, I kind of wanted to say, how does it feel?
yeah, and what's so crazy is that he married Lois and she died,
Off
they
screen. So I'm
like,
like, thank you.
right, but they have no development. Like
True.
Lois, she didn't exist in the JSA movie. If Clark was the only reporter, and so it's kind of like, where did she come from? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so it really didn't make sense, but it's like they had to throw that in there. Um, even with the JSA movie, but it made sense that Clark and Diana would be together because they had you know, the seed planted there. With um with these movies, it was New 52 base. So that relationship was there. Um, but with Lois, no, it didn't make sense. And then at the end, she dies. Um, and she didn't really have a purpose. She only had a purpose with Death of Superman and Reign of Superman. But even then, when Clark is saying that Lois is the only one that knows him, it's kind of like, no, she doesn't, because she didn't even know your true identity, and the only thing that you did was take off your glasses and
That's the
stare at her.
stupid part because I'm like, they're close enough that he wants to propose to her, but she's never seen him without his glasses on, apparently.
Exactly, like it is
What?
so it.
At least in the Reeves movies, he did powered stuff to show her this. He didn't just do this. Oh, Brit, I'm going to tell you something really crazy. You ready? I'm Superman. That doesn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah, and yeah, for you to say the whole "I love you" thing is kind of like, how do you love someone when you don't know them at all? Like she never met it, and also she never met the Kents, which even the Kents, they were thrown in there, but she never met the Kents, and to try to make it seem like they had this whole serious relationship, where was the build up to it? Where did it happen? Because within the previous movie, he was with Diana and they were serious. So what happened, and how long? Like, was it a time skip? What happened? It really does not make sense at all. Um, so yeah, with this, it was awful, but I don't feel bad that James Tucker was blindsided by a
Ha.
WB saying to kill the verse. Um,
How does
yeah,
it
and
feel?
even with the last movie of having Lois as like this
Strategic
th-
leader since when?
yeah, that was Diana's role. Again, you're trying to give Lois Diana's role.
Or
Even
it's
fighting
like
Harley.
or it's like in Deceased when they make Lois president of New Earth. How is she qualified?
Exactly. It's really so much of, you understand that it is fantasy. But what's another double standard is how Lois fans and say that Superman and Wonder Woman together is a power fantasy. But then in the same breath or whatever, you accept that Lois, and you want Lois to be a power fantasy. That this average woman, this basic, you know, boring woman is like this this all like she's the end all be all type thing. It's like, no, I don't
When they
agree
try
with
and
that.
tell me she's the most important DC character, that's when I lose all respect. But speaking
Yeah,
of losing all respect, all right. So we referenced the Charles Sewell book a lot, and it was so good. And I remember picking up the trades every volume that would come out. Then, after volume 2, I picked up volume 3 by a writer named Peter J. Tomasi. It was a volume, it made me think, the hell?
exactly.
Because first, the way he starts it off, so volume 3 starts off, they're revisiting the Superman and Wonder Woman interaction from Justice League 3, I think is when they first meet.
Yeah, it's three.
Yeah, so I think, oh, cool, we're going to see more of their interaction because so far all we had was the "you're strong, I know." So maybe we'll get more of that. And it starts off actually pretty good because he's like, "Oh, and you're very humble and stuff." So I'm like, okay, that I can kind of get that. But then he just yells at her. It's like, we don't just stand by and let people die. And then she just stands there like, I wasn't going to let them die. And I'm like,
What
what
is
the
this?
hell is this?
You turned a very playful moment of them, like, uh, of them, yeah.
It makes
The
Wonder Woman look like she doesn't care about collateral damage.
Yeah, which again, it does not make any sense. And the fact that Tomasi said that no conflict, like he did it to have to force in conflict, or you don't have a story. No, that is not how you do conflict. And it's like, as a professional writer, and that was once even an editor, this is not what you do. I have no idea where you got that from, but to change a moment that was playful, and them young, and Clark, he's basically like, he's not that type that would yell. So who are you writing? um and even at that moment, honestly, you don't get a sense of why are they even a couple. Like, if that was their first meeting, how did they become a couple then?
It's again, remember that was intentional. And
Yeah,
then they have to tie into the dreaded DC YOU era. And so Superman loses his powers to Vandal Savage, and he starts traveling around the world on a motorcycle, which by itself actually sounds pretty cool. But some of the stuff they made there was really stupid. So then they have Superman and Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman, apparently Superman gets pissed that Wonder Woman used the lasso on Lois and Lana and stuff to get information out of them. And I'm like, why are you pissed? She does that all the time. And
exactly.
well, and then adding on, he also tries to make it like Clark was pissed that Diana's the god of war. And I'm like, we literally at the end of volume numero uno of this series that you claim that you're picking up for, Clark finds out and he's fine with it because he trusts Diana.
Yeah, a lot of the things that Tomasi tried to rewrite, like you said, it was done on purpose, and it's things that you can go back to the first volume, and it's like, that didn't happen that way. And I remember that a tweet, and this person said that he met Tomasi, and he talked about Superman and Wonder Woman's when he was announced, whatever. They were at a con, and he talked about the upcoming art, and he basically, well, I can believe the person now because he basically told him that he would write it as a partnership or as like a team up, not as a romance. So yeah, he tried to take out the purpose. The exact purpose of this book is a romance. So to take that out and to try to have it a team up, that still didn't work because Clark and Diana's relationship, even if they are just friends, it's still that romantic vibe to it. It's not just a normal team up, and it doesn't work. Um, yeah, so then with this part of the I don't know if I love you anymore, within the whole truth story, Tomasi's part was the only part that was such a drag. It made Clark so unlikable, and he was such an a-hole.
Yeah, it's like even when he goes to the White House, he very like I don't want to. I'm trying to say he's very hand wavery. He says, I love you, but I can do this myself, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's like
what?
Diana was there. She says that she doesn't want to lose him. She's helping him, get the bullets out or whatever. She is showing you this love and emotion, even uh at the beginning of issue 18, where she has on a shirt and she's like right there, and she says that
Again,
she's gonna
Tomasi
protect him.
writes really good scenes like that.
Yeah, and she says that she's gonna protect him until she, to her very last breath um or whatever. And it's like Diana made this vow to you to protect you, and you treat her like that. It's just so like
It's
why?
un-Superman.
And then even with this scene, he's about because he wants his powers back. He goes and is basically another suicide mission of him hurling himself into the sun. And Diana is basically trying to stop him. And she saves him. She tells him, no, do not do that. Like, you don't know if you're going to die or not. I'm not going to let you die. So she's trying to save him. And then for him to say that it was just weird.
And remember, the marketing image for this issue was "I don't love you anymore."
Yeah. And it really just, why? You know, and the more, again, the more we talk about it and we see, and the fact of we understand why you did this was because of Rebirth, and how, again, just like the Tuckerverse, how Rebirth has basically killed DC, just like Tuckerverse ending killed the animation. This concept you ruined partially on purpose, and the it was no purpose to it. Like, you did it for
And in
nothing.
fact, I remember when they wiped the Superman Wonder Woman relationship from continuity in Super and Trinity. I remember someone because IGN did an article. I can remember vividly what I was doing. I was getting out of Alien Covenant, really crappy movie, so I was already in a crappy mood. So I look at my phone and I see this, like it happened. And then they show one Tomasi's tweet, and he said the reason for this was to wipe Superman and Wonder Woman out.
Yeah, that was Jurgens. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
he said that it was someone had asked about their relationship, and he said that it's broad strokes of Superman's history, but yeah, the Superman and Wonder Woman relationship never happened. And it's kind of like, why that specifically? It showed the biasness there, and the hatred, the pettiness of it.
And again,
And also,
ironically, in a story written by Jurgens, it references Doomsday again. Like I said, the one-trick pony.
yeah, and then again, for someone to, and the tweet was there. So again, the way that the aftermath of all of this, it makes sense now that, you know, some fans will say that this writer said this or this writer believes this. And it's kind of like you don't really believe that until the writer does a certain thing or says a certain thing. But the fact that Jurgens did so much, you can believe the fan that said that he believes that Superman and Wonder Woman is just like fanboy porn or whatever. And he has he doesn't have any respect for the relationship. And he also said that Lois is the co-lead of the Superman books and franchise. And it's like, no, she's a supporting
Well,
character.
ironically, your Superman book didn't sell well.
Exactly. And also that it's the fact that he had the Lois and Clark Convergence spin-off book, and it debuted with 32K.
Oh, the coward Superman?
Yeah. And it dropped to where issue 8 it was around 18K. But throughout the whole thing of the marketing, or if DC marketed Superman and Wonder Woman, it was to reference that they're breaking up. But
Mhm.
with the Lois and Clark book, it was they're this unbreakable bond, the original power couple. But even with the whole breakup of Clark and Diana, the book still sold. The book it was
Yeah,
kind of like
somehow, by
fans
the
were
way,
still,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to bring this up.
yeah,
Even the Tomasi issues outsold Rebirth. That's the shocking part.
exactly. And the thing is, when the last issue of with Final Days, and it kind of felt like, which is why we don't really reference it much, is when it was kind of like a throw the Superman and Wonder Woman fans a bone. And I believe
Because it was
Meredith,
out. Honestly, it was a good moment. I'll give you that.
yeah, but I think Meredith Finch, she did say that she talked to Tomasi about Clark and Diana's relationship, and basically it coincides together of the smothered desires of them wanting to get married, of wanting to have a kid together, and everything like that. But honestly, to me, and this is just my opinion, but for that to be like their desire together, and then Tomasi to turn around and have Clark married to Lois and them have John, it just felt like, yeah, we're gonna give them this bone, but it's also a slap in the face to what's to, you know, the next phase or whatever we're
Speaking of
switching to
slaps
have
in the
that.
face, this BS.
Yeah, exactly. It was like it continued on of Tomasi's whole rant about Clark and Diana's relationship, especially Diana, because there was an interview that he had, and he, even with his first volume, well, the third, and he introduced Wonder Star. Honestly, Wonder Star is a wonderful name for Clark and Diana's hypothetical kid, their superhero name. Um, but it was a waste of design, and it was a waste of character. And so many people were so invested when the idea of that could be Clark and Diana's kid. And within that interview, he said, "Well, I'm just gonna burst everyone's bubble now and say no, that's not their kid." And it's like, why would you ruin the, even if it's not their kid,
Why would you
why would
ruin
you
the
ruin it in an
surprise?
interview? And why would you just say, like, why would you say that I'm gonna burst everyone's bubble like some type of vicious, villain?
Speaking of villains, when who's writing Action Comics Rebirth?
Jergens.
Well, that explains it because then you have this wonderful exchange where Diana goes, "I realize seeing Clark and me together might feel odd considering." No, not odd. It feels true.
True.
Brit, so I have this issue. And I remember because I was at my LCS, and ironically, they had like a stack of Rebirth issues in the dollar bin. And so I grabbed them because I was like, it's $1. I'll check them out. So I'm reading through this and I'm like, okay, it's enjoyable. I'm reading through this. I get to this issue, I throw the issue out across the room.
Yeah, because you are constantly throwing jabs and and for Tomasi to and Jurgens really saying that New 52 Superman was fake, that he wasn't real, that the real Superman is back, that
It
this is
annoys
true.
me. It annoys me when people call post-crisis Clark real Superman. Because I'm like, oh, really? Real Superman is a coward.
Yeah. And also just the way that all of you were so bothered by Superman and Wonder Woman being together that you like had a specific conversation together to for Diana to say this is true, and then for Rucka in his book to call Superman their relationship and just New 52 Diana, her history lies. So that is what that was. That was Jurgen saying what the truth was supposedly, and Rucka saying that all of this is a lie. And then you have Tomasi with, yeah, I showed Clark and Diana, wanting to be married and having a kid together. But the truth is Clark is married to Lois and they have John. And just to say that you could have married Wonder Woman and she doesn't have a pulsar. Clark is not shallow. He doesn't care for man-made awards. So why would you have him say that? And how is that even romantic to think that, oh, you only married me for an award or something
It
like
could
that?
be like a little quippy line, but still, it just comes across as very like shallow.
Exactly. You had nothing else to say really about. And I think in that same issue, he also threw Martha under the bus. It was like, why would you throw your own mother under the bus for Lois when Martha was the one that took care of you as this lonely alien child? She took you in as her own, and you throw her under the bus. When Lois, she done treated you like crap. And the only reason why she even likes you is because of basically revisionist history, retcons or whatever for her to
And
care about
remember,
you.
here's the other thing, because technically they said a lot of the new 52 Superman's actions are canon, hence because he has the armor and stuff. So you're telling me that the arc when Lois Lane revealed Superman's identity to the world is canon as well, and you still
Yeah,
married the woman?
right. Even the suit, it doesn't make sense at all. Like when people see the new 52 suit, they think of his relationship with Diana. So within him having the suit, he was with Diana, that just that whole thing does not make sense. And that's why even with John in his birth was rewritten like 3 or 4 times, and to where in John's first book with the whole flashback, Clark was in the suit with the red underwear. So, no, nothing makes sense with with Rebirth, Reborn, or whatever, with Superman's whole thing. And yeah, just Rebirth's whole thing was very mean spirited, especially towards Superman and Wonder Woman fans. At the end of um New 52, I had actually, and this was the first, I believe, yeah, it was the very first post that got over 1,000 likes and comments, over 100 comments, was posting the panel of New 52 Superman's death. And that pretty much showed the impact outside of the Twitter bubble that New 52 Superman had when everyone basically was emotional for his death with Final Days. And so many people commented at that time of wanting him back, wanting to know what was happening. And I believe it was I that did it, but I sent it to Tomasi and he said nothing. He ignored the tweet,
Sure.
and he actually, when he was confronted by a fan, that was trying to not only support him through the truth arc, like believing that Clark and Diana was going to, get back together, and it was just a like, whatever, and actually defended him from Lois fans that were attacking him. Lois fans attacked Tomasi, calling him misogynistic, calling him out his name, tweeted him death threats and everything like that. And the one time that a Superman and Wonder Woman fan called him out, especially with this Pulitzer panel, he blocked the Superman and Wonder Woman fans. And I don't think, he still has them blocked, like basically the whole fandom.
And this is a fandom that was supporting you, because
Yeah,
I'm sure it was like, okay, he's going through, maybe this is just one arc that maybe it could lead to like a great resolution. They get back together. So we were being nice against, and he was being attacked by the very people he was trying to support, to pander to.
appease. Yeah,
And that is disgusting.
yeah, and yeah, to this day, I believe they're still blocked. He he didn't answer the complaints or anything like that. He uh appeased the Lois fans, and I believe he said that, Lois and Clark, they have something on the horizon, and the on the horizon was Rebirth. And he said,
Well,
you know, and for him to try to pet them and call them whatever, but then when Superman and Wonder Woman fans, you know, in a very respectful way, like no one called him out his name, no one did anything like that. They just voiced their opinion on, first of all, you killed the Superman that we, supported. And then you talked about Diana like that, and how he said it in an interview that he was intimidated, or that Diana, she's intimidating, that she demands the spotlight and it's difficult to write her. So he was called out on that. And for you to just feel like, you know, that Rebirth is going to be like this grand thing for you, that you block a whole fandom, very unprofessional and very just disrespectful to the people that supported you and tried to defend you, to the people you're trying to please, that they talked about you.
and you know what? Now I'm even more like, you got what you deserved when like when he got the rug pulled under him in favor of Bendis. You know what? I feel a little less bad for saying, you know
Exactly.
what? Because you know what? Now you know how it feels. You have a
Exactly.
story that you're enjoying, and then DC says no.
Yeah, he I believe that there was um another, I guess some writers, they let their feelings be known, especially at cons. So it was someone that interviewed Tomasi, and I think he was videoed. Yeah, he was videoed, and the way he talked about like not having the super sons, and just how sad, or that type of attitude is like, okay, now you know how I felt when you did that to the Superman and Wonder Woman fandom, is that you ruined this relationship for no reason. You The way he purposely talked about, it needs conflict. No, you forced this, and you made
It
it to
had
where,
conflict.
yeah, and then for the ending book to say a power couple no more, like who want, the main purpose of the book is for them to be the power couple. So why would you change it? And that is why the book, fell so fast, because the promise, it was changed, and it was no one supported the book. And it was so unfair that they expected us to say that this is the Superman that you're supposed to love, or this is the status quo. And if you
Really?
yeah, and if you don't like it, then you're not a real fan. And for Jurgen and Tomasi to say that for you to support New 52, you're not a real fan. And to continuously reiterate that, not only on their own socials, personal socials, but in the books themselves, it was just like totally uncalled for. So for Rebirth to basically, you know, just DC's issues or whatever of not being able to get fans
I
of
will light the match to that Tinder pile myself.
yeah, for it to be in the turmoil it's in, to where you have current writers making polls and asking how do we get new fans or whatever like that, and asking for support. No, no fan is going to support you when you show that at a drop of a dime or whatever like that, you will flip, and you will, like, especially if it goes within uh your bias or whatever, you are not professional. And even honestly, even for me, if I was writing for DC, I'll be honest, I would have my gripes or whatever, but I would do my best to write what I'm assigned. I would, because that is my job.
Yeah, because there were writers that were like, I don't want to write this. I don't want to write new 52 Superman. I hate the costume. Then don't write for DC because that's the way it looks right now.
Exactly. If you don't want to write what is currently going or whatever,
And selling,
decline it.
mind you.
Yeah, decline it and ask or something, make a compromise or something. Write what you want in an else world, or pitch like a story that the story that you really want to write. It's that simple. If your pitch isn't picked up, oh well, write something else. But to accept a job that you don't like, and to viciously and underhandedly um decide that, well, I'm just gonna screw it up then. That is just so unprofessional and so childish. And to be, you know, these grown people that's probably in their early 50s or something, to be like this attitude is so, I don't know. I don't have any respect for that. And yeah, that's why I never felt bad for any type of turmoil that DC has now. I don't feel bad
You
for
get
it
what you
at
deserve
all.
at this point. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Even DC Studios, I could care less at this point. And yes, there have been people that say, if you're not excited for DC, then you're not a real fan. I'm like, have you seen what DC has done in the past?
Exactly.
But speaking of Elseworlds and crapping the bed, Injustice.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh boy. So, all right, Britt and I did an entire episode on this, so we're gonna give you the broad strokes of this. But the reason why this is a crappy version of Super Wonder is because this is what people always point to when they say, if Superman and Wonder Woman are together, we get Injustice, ignoring the fact that that's an evil Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she's not even herself. And yeah, Clark and Diana's their their issues are very much separate. Um, Clark, he wasn't a good person from the beginning, because first Lois is like used as a crutch, his moral crutch, as in, like, if he didn't have her, he would be evil. Then you have these Superman stories where Diana is nowhere involved, but he's evil. You have even the Suicide uh Squad game. He, regardless of being possessed by Brainiac or brainwashed by Brainiac,
Or
or if
clone.
he is a clone, it's still the fact that Superman is evil. And that's why I really do like that, that you cannot blame Diana for him being evil, portrayed as evil in this game, because
Yeah,
Diana
yeah,
is.
I know. You literally can't because she's fighting against him.
And what really shows how injustice doesn't make sense is within the comic, the source material. Diana, first of all, she has the lasso of truth. And second, her mind, if she's, blessed by Athena and all of that, is basically like she's incorruptible. And like people want to bring up Kingdom Come, but the circumstances within Kingdom Come is that they all went through like hell. And it is a very dark time of humanity turning their backs on the heroes that are actually, there for them. And Diana, she lost everything. So of course she's a little jaded and everything, but she's not evil. She's doing exactly what she feels that she needs to do. And yes, she did fail because humanity failed her. And it wasn't easy for her to accomplish what she set out to do. And even with sacrifice, Diana, she made a choice to save her friend from being brainwashed. And the world again turned their backs on her. But taking that out of context to say that Diana will kill, you know, anybody. She's sword happy or whatever. No, she's not sword happy. No, she won't just snap anyone's neck. Max Lord, he said he wouldn't let Clark go unless she killed him. She had no other choice. The only time she's sword happy is when she's killing demons and monsters or whatever like that. Injustice Wonder Woman is Cersei or Maxima in disguise. That's the only way to explain her attitude.
You could
But
have salvaged it and done that actually.
yeah, but even with her origin of basically like, I guess the Amazons were already kind of villainous and it was a little dark anyway. And then she met Steve, who was a Nazi spy, and he killed one of her sisters, so she killed him. And she was manipulated by Steve. She was used by Steve. So unless she kind of in a twisted way, she basically wants that kind of guy to, abuse her in that sense, then yeah, you understand her weird type attraction to evil Clark. You understand that a little bit. But
Hmm.
honestly, Diana, if she felt hurt by Steve, by what Steve did to her, she would not follow Clark at all. She wouldn't. So yeah,
She has
her,
served with the. Here's the thing: not only is she on the Justice League, she's been on the Justice Society. So she's
yeah.
served with literally the best men. I'm emphasizing men right now for a reason. She's ever met, and still she wants to subjugate man's world.
So yeah, that is just why injustice just does not make sense. And it could have just been a video game and not used within the comics, because the comic is just
Well,
the
they could have had
more.
it been Cersei. Like maybe what they could have done is make it where Diana was as a child abducted and switched.
Yeah, something like that. Or she's been in prison somewhere for the longest. I don't know, but it just
Because can you
does not.
imagine, like in Justice 3, they do that. Wonder Woman wakes up and she was in prison before Superman turned evil, so she comes out and finds this changed world. Now that's a story for you.
Yeah, and that will totally make sense. But for you to say that this is the Diana, that this is the one that was, yeah, with the JSA, and she's been since World War II, that just does not make any sense at all for her to be manipulative and, just this cold-hearted harpy. No. Um, for people who use this
Hmm.
story to say that when Clark and Diana are together, they become these uh dictator gods, whatever. Again, Clark, he was never a hero when it's the fact that yeah, we understand that he was the cause of Lois dying and the unborn child and stuff like that. But it's Bizarro Kingdom Come. All Clark did was he exiled himself with humanity uh turning its back on him, and that was it. Turning into a dictator and all of that, and basically being worse than the Joker. No,
Doesn't
that
work.
doesn't work. And for him to say he's doing this for Lois, I mean, honestly, if you're trying to honor her, I don't know if Lois would. I mean, maybe she would.
Maybe she would. I love that. Which,
Maybe
all
she
right.
would,
Mhm.
but yeah.
So, but by the way, I just want to give you a little tease. I have an idea for something. I'll tell you after we record. So, I'm gonna,
Okay.
yes, the idea of percolating. So anyway, then we get to Red Sun, and here's the thing: the story itself is actually a really cool idea with Superman being the Soviet Union, because basically what it shows, as a matter of fact, is no matter what, Superman is still Superman. Because to a certain degree, yeah, he becomes like a world dictator, kind of more so in the movie, but in the comic, yeah, kind of. But he still behaves like Superman.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Even if it's evil Clark in some way, and that is what makes injustice so like intolerable and doesn't make sense because if he's truly Clark, he would still somehow be a hero and he would have sort of sympathy. But this weak willed, you know, whatever corrupted guy, and even with Tom Taylor saying that, he knows that this isn't the Superman, but he wrote Earth 2 in New 52, Earth 2 Superman. He wrote him as evil. So it's like you first of all, you have a thing for evil Superman, so you can't really blame everything on injustice because you
One
do that.
trick pony.
Yeah. And second, even with Diana, he says that with Diana he knows that he's writing a total different character. But with any other writing from him, he writes her as basically in the background, or she is like this aggressor. Um, just like Tomasi, you would think that if he wrote a Wonder Woman Black and Gold, that miniseries, he wrote kind of in a sense of New 52 era Diana because he had Hephaestus and she was aggressive there. So it was like, no, you just don't know how to write her, and you write her as this generic warrior. So that's the same how Tom Taylor does. And yeah, with Red Sun is the perfect example of he might be evil, but he has some sort of sense of the Clark that we would, you know, know. And
Quick
even
question
Diana.
though. What the
hmm
hell is this bottom panel from?
I believe Countdown.
Because I'm like, because the Wonder Woman in Red Sun, the original graphic novel, actually is not an evil person and does not have this dialogue. So I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, here's the thing is that a lot of writers, it seems like they do not read the source material they are referencing. So, and for some reason, after a couple of years or whatever like that, the fandom influences a lot of, later writers' perspective of characters and stories. So just like with Kingdom Come now, they're saying that it's a dark, evil timeline. It's like, no, it's not evil. Kingdom Come Superman is not evil. What are you talking about? Um, Red Sun, it has the evil dictator kind of in there, but not really. So it's a fine line.
Well, when this Superman went bad, Wonder Woman stopped him.
Yeah, but now you have it where again, Diana is written as this evil, Mary uh, Macbeth type.
And she kind of
Uh,
looks albino. That's the weird thing about the way that's colored.
yeah, I mean, they just like changing things or whatever around to fit
That's not
whatever.
even her tiara, too. That's the weird part.
The whole thing is awful. I mean, I've never read Countdown, but yeah, when they reference I think Red Sun was referenced in JSA, Jeff Johns
Mm-hmm.
JSA, I believe so. But there was a scene where they seemed like they was flirty, and he says, "Tie me up in the lasso," and she says, "Don't think I haven't thought about it." So you know, you have just different characters take on their relationship and their character and their individual character. So here, Diana seems cold and she blindly following uh Clark, and they're evil. And she's talking to Donna, and they capture Donna, and she's saying that the Diana I know would not do this. So that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to contrast an Elseworlds Diana with the main Diana, but at the same time, this even if it is Elseworlds, some parts of them will
That ain't Red
still,
Sun Wonder Woman.
yeah, it will still like convey what the main character would do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just a lot of twists, here and there. But Red Sun, even with the movie, they their relationship is one kind of one-sided with Diana falling for him. Yes, she does. But he admits that he was blind, that,
And then, of
Diana,
course, in the movie, they make that stupid change. Which, by the way, when Sam Liu comes on the channel this month to talk about Red Sun, I'm going to ask him about that.
yeah, that really, I mean, I understand you want to be progressive and inclusive, but the story really didn't.
Well, hang
Diana's
on a second. But the other thing is like, okay, so she comes from an island of only women. Every Wonder Woman comes from an island of only women.
and also she's the baby. Like she's the baby, literally.
That's
So
why,
these
though. That's why Rucka's like Wonder Woman Rebirth run doesn't make sense when he implies that Wonder Woman is sleeping with all the Amazons because they're basically her aunts.
First of all, that's kind of weird to say that Diana is basically sleeping around with everyone on the island. That's just weird. And second, yeah, to say that she was like the youngest and the baby, so though they were like her second mothers and aunts, even weirder. No, don't do that. If Diana is the only child, do not try to imply any type of romantic feelings or whatever
Which is funny,
with
Brit.
the
Here's some like what's the word? A contradiction for you. I know in the DC fam there's contradictions, but when they were criticizing the Amazons' portrayal in the new 52, they had brought up whenever we bring up that like, well, it's actually mythologically accurate. They'll bring up and not everything has to be mythologically accurate. But then when you bring up that and say that is disgusting, they'll go, well, it's actually accurate to the way Greek society is.
No, I mean, yeah, Greek
I'm like,
society,
what?
they have incest and everything like that. No, but this is still, Diana does not represent that at all. Like, stop doing that. Stop making her into a generic warrior and stop putting these stereotypes on her. This is why the general audience does not like have this misconception of her character, that either they do think she's a generic warrior or they think with their heads in their minds in the gutter, and they think that her character is just like a sexualized character in the most weirdest way possible. Stop doing that.
It's really, yeah, I'm just like, what? So anyway, continuing on. So this is a story that I've never heard of before. So Britt, you're gonna have to explain this to me. What's the 18th letter?
Okay, so within the story, Diana is blackmailed by I forgot his name, but she's blackmailed into this guy wants her to sleep with him, and I actually forgot the story, but yeah, it's basically Diana gets blackmailed and this guy wants her to sleep with him. And throughout the story, Diana does kind of I don't think that she actually develops feelings for the guy. It's just the fact of she as how she is, her compassion and everything, you know, people change. But within the story though, Clark, you see he he's worried about her, but at the same time he has feelings for her. And also this story was used um to put a strain on their relationship for her to be closer to Batman. I
Oh
believe
God.
we actually discussed this story when we were talking about the Trinity.
Actually, yeah, you know what's kind of funny? The more you describe this, the more it's sounding familiar.
Yeah, so within this story, um Clark he's thinking about Diana, and there's one panel where he's sitting in the living room or something, and before Lois walks in, and there's an image, and I guess it is his within his mind of kissing Diana. So then you have Lois, and she's, talking to him or whatever, but his mind is completely on Diana. Then um the next page, Lois is waking up or something like that, and she's wondering where did Clark go. And you see on the very last page that he is talking about his feelings for Diana, and he's basically saying that he loves her, and also the feeling of jealousy. So you have Clark above in the sky
It's
with
worse
red
because,
eyes,
yeah, the red eyes make it worse.
and he's looking down at Diana with this guy. And yeah, it is again with going back to the Superman, the aftermath of the Trinity story. Clark has dreams about Diana. He's has thoughts about her being with her, but you're committed to Lois. But then if Diana tries to move on and ignore you, she wants you to leave her alone. She don't bring up any type of romantic whatever, or she moves on with someone else, you're jealous. I that really, some would think that, it all depends. That yeah, Clark can be jealous, but he can't act possessive over Diana, especially when he's married to someone else, and how he treats Diana in the sense of I can't be with you, and he tells her that in a sense, or he denies his feelings for Diana, but yet when she's with someone else, he acts possessive. That is not Clark.
It's
And
I'm sorry. Speaking, it's kind of funny how we have evil Superman, evil Superman, evil Superman, jealous Superman with red eyes about to heat vision someone out of jealousy.
yeah, and then at the end too, he acts like he's sulking or angry at Diana or whatever, and she she's hurt again. He breaks her heart because it's like she didn't sleep with the guy. It's like she trusts Clark, and he's supposed to be the her best friend and the one person that she knows that she can trust and that knows her for her. And for him to question her and think that she's quote unquote easy or something like that, that she would just randomly sleep with someone, it broke her heart. So it's like, Clark, stop breaking Diana's heart because of your jealousy. And if you want to be with her, be with her. Or in a sense, the writers. Why write Clark being jealous and it's like Diana can't move on, or
It's a character assassination. What is with these people that are supposedly the greatest Superman writers ever about character assassinating Superman?
I don't know. Honestly, they just like how Tomasi doesn't like Diana and he's more of you know, the nostalgia, and I don't even know if he's a fan of Lois, but just like that, I just think that it's the same thing with Clark because these same writers can go around and they can write a good Batman, and you can tell that they have way more fun and way more respect for Batman. So I just think that that's what it is. And going back to even Injustice and just the disrespect, Batman is DC's cash cow. He's, you know, the number one. And then Superman plays second fiddle. And then you have Wonder Woman like a few notches down from that. So that is just how it goes. But you will never get a Batman writer or fan to respect Wonder Woman. With Superman, it's a 50-50 chance, but within these past few years, I would say pretty much after Rebirth, um, that is when the disrespect of the Superman fans and writers really started to show their disrespect for Wonder Woman. And I'm like, that is just completely uncalled for. So, but even with this too, this is being before Rebirth. This is basically just that, again, that bait and switching back and forth of I'm for the marriage and or I'm against the marriage or I'm in between the marriage, and it just ruins every character involved.
Now, let me ask you this, Britt. Why do you think Diana calling Superman Kal is controversial?
It's not okay. It's not controversial, but let me turn off my brain for a minute and go for and go for the
Try to sound like one of them.
and go for the Twitter reference. And oh, one more thing is that the writer of the 18th letter is Christopher Priest, which again, the biasness of not liking Diana. So that answers that. But going back to his name, it is that it makes it seem like he's just an alien, and it moves him from humanity. Which with saying that, I really cannot believe that at all. And just saying that, just ugh.
Because
It
it really doesn't, though.
it I mean, to say that calling him by his birth name is moving him away from humanity, how is that even like, how does your mind even like calculate that, correlate that to being a thing? And that just shows how you don't know Diana. She is the goddess of truth. She honors heritage. She honors culture. She honors life and everything like that. And the fact that she is so ingrained in, understanding everyone as themselves, who they truly are. And a large part of who Superman, Kal, and Clark is you don't separate the identities like that.
Mhm.
And neither none of the identities are wrong to reference. You can call him it's just a name. You can call him Clark, you can call him Kal, you can call him Superman. Whatever. It's just who he is though as a person. One, he's not split in three. He's just one person. You A lot of people have different names. You have a nickname that say, that maybe your mom or your dad or your sister, brother, they call you, a nickname. Then you have your real name that people will call you, your government name, even your middle name. And then you might have a name that's shortened. Mine is shortened, you know, but I'm still going to be who I am no matter what you call me, unless you
Mhm.
don't call me out my name, then we might have a problem. But if you call me any nickname or whatever, or my shortened name, I will still answer you, or I will tell you. You can call me, you know, that I prefer it. That's that. I don't have a problem with that. But to put the names as like, oh, if you call him Superman, that he's in a battling alien. If you call him Kal, he doesn't care for humanity. He thinks he's a god. No, it is his birth name. He's Kryptonian. That is what that is. He's Clark Kent is Clark is Martha's sure name. Kent is Jonathan's last name, mixed together is his adopted name that's basically forged because he does not have real adoption papers, obviously. And he's, unless you do just think that post crisis is like the holy grail or whatever, you would know that he did in a sense have a life on Krypton. Yeah, he was a baby, a 2-year old that doesn't remember it, but it's still the fact that he did have a life there. And that is such a disrespect to Laura that wanted to give a natural birth though. In
Well,
the way that uh-huh.
it's not only that. It's like they make it out like Diana only calls him Cal, which I'm like, if you look at the new 52, she never called him Cal.
That is because again the whole writers trying to really force the post-crisis thing of
Mhm.
like Clark, even though New 52 Clark, he was much more balanced with the idea of accepting his Kryptonian and human, identities. They still had this thought of his name is only Clark though. So, that's a thing all by itself. But within post crisis, still Diana did she called him Clark, she called him Cal. Honestly, I prefer her to call him Cal. First, it sounds good. Like if you think of Diana with an accent, it's just the way she says it. It has this intimacy to it, and it also, again, it's acknowledging Krypton and the fact that Laura gave he was the first natural born child,
Mhm.
and as a mother, um, what a mother goes through with carrying a child and birthing a child. that is something that is such a challenge. So yes, for him, and Laura named him. So for Diana to call him by the name that Laura gave him, that should be significant. Um, but for Clark to he he values the name Superman because Lois named him that over over being called his birth name, which your mother gave you. It's just, again, the writers have a bias, and it's very petty. Um, Even with the Superman name, Lois didn't name him Superman out of like intimacy or something like that. She was writing the article of meeting him, and it's like a just so happen type thing. And I think it was like a Superman, just super, you know, space man, and they ran with it and put it together as Superman, but it wasn't her actually naming him that. So to try to put that as important and emphasize that as, again, trying to make Lois seem important, the details, it doesn't work.
Hell
Um,
yeah, hell yeah, it really doesn't work. And again, it comes off, the whole thing comes off as forced because it really, this is what I object to whenever I see all the. I have had people ask me, why do you hate Lois so much? And it's because ultimately what it is, it comes across whenever they try and emphasize her, they always have to downgrade someone else. And I'm sorry,
hmm
that's just the example of a crappy character.
yeah, I can't stand that. Again, you have to turn off half your brain, or shoot, majority of your brain, to really to believe this. And it's like there is nothing to believe. And I think that is because that I'm a writer too, that I can tell the BS right away. And it is just that is just why I never liked the relationship. It's just, and as a female reader, a fan, that's another thing that peeves me, because so many Lois fans are like, Superman and Wonder Woman don't have female fans. It's just boys. And I'm like, I know that I'm a female. So like, who are you talking about? And to think that you can speak on these characters, and but we have to, it's no understanding it, but acknowledge it, that some of these people live vicariously through these characters too.
Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to, is that a lot of these people, that's why they get so offended when you just express the opinion of, I just don't like Lois Lane, because they
Yeah,
say it's because with them it's like, oh, she's me, with her I can finally be me.
yeah. I saw a tweet that's saying that an alien falling in love, or whatever, with a human, is that's how it should be, or and it's like, no. Okay, so now he's an alien. At first he's supposed to be this human, and now, because you know you see an image of Clark seeing old or whatever to Lois, now he's the alien. And again, for even Lois, she does not call him, she calls him Clark. She doesn't acknowledge his Kryptonian heritage at all. Diana, she knows the language. She speaks it. Um, she takes the time to learn about him, all of him, and interested. I I don't think there's ever been a story or anything that had Lois actually interested in learning of the his Kryptonian heritage,
Kind
unless
of
it
in
was,
War World.
but that honestly was Kennedy Johnson. I think that was for a story or for a book that
Hmm.
she was writing. So it's self-serving.
I
It's
see.
never anything for her to learn of her husband's heritage, or anything like that. It's for her own self to write a story. If Clark showed her, just as her going to the fortress, or even in the Death of Superman animated movie, when he took her to Star Labs, she was writing an article about him. To He was trying to make it seem like he's showing her his world, like in a romantic sense, but she was looking at it as a story. Lois never looks at it as anything but that. But Diana, she would look at it as actually honoring who he is. And also his name, it it's it also goes with um his creators, Superman's creators, being these two Jewish boys. His name is Jewish.
Hmm.
And it also goes within the allegory of Superman's story being of Moses. And for you to demonize that, you were demonizing the creation, just the general creation of this character and what he is supposed to stand for. And I believe that Cal also means the voice of God. And, again, with the Moses allegory and everything like that. And also, it, it, um, for Laura, this was pre-crisis, it was Star Child too.
Hmm.
So, just that whole spiritual thing that it represents, to try to demonize it as in just being to say that he's a battling alien, or to say that he's a god. First, again, they don't read, because within the New 52, Clark and Diana's first deep conversation, they say we're not gods. Like, it's right there in black and white,
Hmm.
the text.
Justice 12, baby.
And really, if you're demonizing the otherness in the book, to say that he's just an alien, and the fact of, in reality, when they call people aliens, they mean immigrants. So, you know in reality, yeah, you're being very racist or xenophobic. And that is what Clark and Diana represent, are the otherworldly people, the immigrants, the refugees. And you won't accept them as the immigrants and refugees that they are, but you will only, accept them if they do conform to American ways. So Clark is only accepted if he goes by Clark, if he is working at the Daily Planet, if he does act like a doormat for everyone, if he act like a galoot, a
Oh my God.
doofus with the
Brit, you are
glasses and
triggering
everything like
me
that.
every time you say galoot because I think of James Gunn.
That's exactly why I say it, because honestly, it triggers me too, because you just don't do that. And especially, I mean, his inspiration is All Star. And honestly, I really don't know why that story is held as something so high. It's kind of boring to me. So, and just his attitude or whatever, how Clark is written as overly, you know, this exaggeration of this um uh like an over exaggerated, danger prone type person or whatever. um I don't like it. And I really hope that that is not what he's going for, because we don't need that. What we need in 2025, when this movie comes out, is more New 52 type Superman. If you give us the all-American simpleton farm boy gloop whatever, that is not going to work with the general audience. It's not.
No, it's because here's how we know it's not going to happen. Superman Returns. That's all I have to say. So on that note, Brit, let's wrap this up. This was a killer episode, and let us know below your thoughts, what your least favorite Super Wonder moment is. Now, Brit, any teases?
Okay, so I have all of these one shots.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I have in the chapters to get through. I've done at least one paragraph of the new chapter for Awakened Desire. So, yay. Um, I have to finish the Valentine's story. That will probably be by the end of next week. Hopefully, my goal is to be done with that. And of course, send you some exclusives. Um, but other than that, and just every story that needs chapters done and everything. And now I have the Instagram to prepare for the subscribers and the content of how I will have that
Congratulations,
announced.
friend.
Thank
That is
you so
awesome.
much. Yes, I at first I was really like, oh, you know, when I got the notification of of the monetization, I was like, oh, really? You know, I was a little skeptical of it, but then I was like, why not? You know, so with seeing, we're going through everything that, you know, to set it up and everything, and how it lets you interact more with the fans and everything, and just seeing that this is a way for more Superman and Wonder Woman fans to, you know, show their creativity, but also know that no, you're not alone. And I guess it is another way of, well, so many people know that the Instagram exists because someone screenshot the page and posted it on Twitter for everyone to see. So yeah, it's just a new thing, you know, to interact with the uh, Instagram followers, and also doing more with the TikTok as well.
Sweet. Can't wait. And I will be subscribing momentarily. So,
Yay.
so yeah, in terms of Comics League, we got a lot of great content besides continuing on to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So anyway, see you all later. Stay heroic. And remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. See you later.